This is Make It Mentionable. I'm Alyssa Patness, and this is the show about being human in a world that encourages us to be robots. I invite you to join me as we journey through the mess, the magic, and the mania in between, because what we can talk about, we can manage. This honest conversation extravaganza includes free-flowing conversations and high doses of vulnerability to remind you that you aren't alone. No topic is off limits, and episodes are designed to leave you smarter, aka more self-aware than when you came. I am so glad you're here. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Make It Mentionable. Geoff is joining me again for an episode from our couch, and today we have something fun in store. So a few weeks ago, Geoff found a list. How would you describe this? Oh, it's 45 lessons that life taught me, and it is a list written by a 90-year-old woman. I have no idea when it was written. Do you?
No idea.
Okay, so we have no idea when this was written, but it is a list of 45 lessons that life taught this 90-year-old woman named Regina Brett. And Geoff emailed it to me and he's like, I want to talk to you about this over a drink. And so we started doing that on a recent trip. And halfway through, we stopped and decided that it would be good for a podcast episode for us to go over this list and talk about it and see what we agree with, what we disagree with, what we would add. And that is what we're bringing you today.
Let's do it.
All right. So it seems like she was a columnist because at the top it says it's the most requested column I've ever written. So if I can find more information on Miss Regina Brett, I will look it up and link it. But if not, here's her list. All right. So the first one, life isn't fair, but it's still good.
Yeah, this one says to me, it reminds me to be appreciative of what's good in life. We can often focus on something that happens to us that we view as negative and it's not fair. This why is this happening to me? But if we shift and say, but what's good, we realize that there's always some good and always some bad, and most of it's good.
Yeah, I like that. I think for me, it comes to people are born in different situations. And so inherently, it's not fair. Like the way economic systems work across the globe, it's inherently not fair. And that doesn't mean, though, that we can't find the good in every situation, but it's going to be different for different people. And I think we have to recognize that.
Yeah, I would add that this is what I taught my kid. Kids, life isn't fair. But I didn't add on that second part. It gives us something to think about and something to get our mind off of what happened to us that is negative, that wasn't fair. And hey, but what's good about life? And it's mostly great.
Yes, I like the extension because most people are taught life isn't fair. But this gives the addendum of okay, so what do I do with that then? And it's well, you can still look at the good things. I like it. All right. Number 2, when in doubt, just take the next small step. I once wrote a post about baby steps. I think this is so good because if you told a little baby toddler who is trying to walk that they're tiny steps where they're falling and they're learning how to get back up and they're in one parent's arms chasing the other one down. If you told them that those baby steps were worth nothing, they would be very angry. And so I think baby steps or the next small step, as Regina mentions it, are crucial. We can't always, take a step the size of an elephant, and the small ones are what lead to the bigger momentum. Anyway.
Yeah. And the child analogy is great because if a child would only settle for I'm going to stand up and start walking, it would be a failure. Mm-hmm. But they don't view it that way. They get up, they fall down, they get up, they fall down. And those baby steps eventually lead to great strides.
Yes. And half the time when they fall down, they're laughing about it, which is great.
Mm-hmm. We should do that.
Okay. Number 3, Life is too short to waste time hating anyone.
I think there's one about forgiveness later. There is. And this ties into that for me. But it's easy to get caught up in negative emotions and feeling negative about others. And releasing that and letting that go, we can find great joy, but it's not easy sometimes.
I mean, hate is a strong word, just in general. I've tried most of my life not to use that word. It's a very powerful thing in a negative light for me in many cases. But we often live in this world where it's like, oh, you did this to me. Like, until we work on some of our own emotional things and we like get clarity over that, we often think that like someone else is doing something to us. And I think that's a lot of times, where the seeds of hate or like resentment start growing is like when you put the blame on some other group or person. And so to me, like, yeah, life is too short to waste time hating anyone. And like, why are we giving them our power? Like, why are we putting the agency outside of ourselves?
Right. And we choose how we feel. We choose what emotional state we're in. We choose whether we're thinking positive things or negative things. And it ties back to the first one. Like, where do we put our focus? Like, oh, life isn't fair, or life is good. Or like put my emotions into hate and focusing on negative things, or looking at the positive. And we get to choose that every day, every moment.
Yes, I agree. Okay. Number 4, your job won't take care of you when you're sick. Your friends and parents will. Stay in touch. I'll go first. Okay. So I totally agree with the first part. Your job won't take care of you when you're sick. And no, like a salary there's a lot of false security in that.
Is this another way of saying like, people on their deathbeds don't ever talk about wanting to have worked more. They talk about wanting like better relationships.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And you can have really awesome professional relationships, and those people might support you and help you, but it's not the job itself. It's not the work itself. This is your friends and parents will, so stay in touch. I struggle with this. Like, there are some people who have great family lives. And so obviously putting the emphasis on like parents and family can, be supportive and beneficial for them. And that's great. I just don't like it when it makes it seem like those are the only relationships, because there's so much power in the family you choose as well. It doesn't need to be your parents, because some people have really shitty upbringings and their parents aren't available to them for whatever reason. And so putting this like pressure on like, oh, I have to be connected to my parents. I think many times people need boundaries with their parents. So
I think we could rewrite this for us. Like, it's not about the job. It's about the relationships. Like, put your relationships first, whoever that's with. And it doesn't have to be the traditional standard. Oh, it's family first, family first. Like you said, there's a family you choose. But it's really about that. It's like, stay in touch, maintain relationships. Those are the things that matter.
Right. Like, not just throwing yourself into like one thing with work and all of a sudden you blink and it's like, oh my God, where are the people I care about? Yeah. Okay. Number 5, pay off your credit cards every month.
Yes.
Philosophically, I agree with this. Debt is incredibly stressful. And we've done an episode on money and talking about finances with your partner. It's with Brittany Ross. And that episode had a ton of great insights that reflect this. And I think it's also like, we can tend to look at all credit as bad. And there are scenarios where it can be helpful, but having the responsibility of knowing like, okay, I'm not going to keep this around forever or whatnot, I think can be.
I would say that, I mean, this is getting a little off topic, but don't take debt on depreciating assets. If it's an appreciating asset, it makes sense. If it's a home, yes. If it's your education, so that you're going to invest in yourself and it's going to pay dividends down the line, like, those are things that make sense.
Yeah.
Things that are depreciating assets, like a TV or a car,
right?
Taking out debt on that is not a great idea. And if you do, like, pay it off. Don't pay more and more on top of that. So, yeah.
I agree. I like the nuance. Nuance is where all the magic is in life, because we so often want this black and white picture, black and white thinking of like, it is this easy, it's this or it's this, but that's not how life is. Like I think I would add something about that, like around black and white thinking to this list, because I don't think there's anything in here.
Well, we didn't make it all the way through. Maybe it's there.
Yeah, we didn't make it all the way through. The last half of these are a surprise to us. So what are we on? We're on number 6. You don't have to win every argument, agree to disagree.
Did you just lean into that? Like, I feel like that's what you were just saying.
I was?
Not the black and white thinking. Like,
oh, yeah.
There isn't one right way. There isn't one answer, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think this is hard because so many of us are taught to be agreeable. And at some point that can start to shut off like our natural energy to do things in our own way, or to think critically about things, and to feel comfort knowing that if we disagree, we can still be loved. I think ultimately that's what it comes down to. Like if it feels like there's a threat to being loved, if we disagree, then like there becomes this pressure to conform in some ways. And that is not healthy. It's not healthy for self-expression. It's not healthy for, getting to experience people's different viewpoints. And truly it's not healthy for evolution.
I think there's lots of reasons why people may not be willing to agree to disagree. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of them. Sometimes it can come from the other end of the spectrum of just feeling like your value is in being right. It's or your identity is in being the smartest one in the room or always right. So there's something underlying that. Mm-hmm. If we have to win every argument, what is the saying about you can always be right, or you can stay married, or it's not that exactly, but like you get to choose. If you're the kind of person that you always got to be right and always win every argument, your relationships are going to suffer. So if that's happening and we can't agree to disagree, what is causing that? What's the underlying need that you're trying to have met in that? But this is a huge one, as you know, for me, and I know for you right now, with everyone saying there is one right answer and follow the science, agree with this, or you're a bad person. I think this is a huge issue for society right now. And that's one of my biggest hopes, is that we can get more to an ability to have different opinions and agree to disagree and be open to hearing other people's opinions without demonizing them.
Yeah, I agree. So number 7, cry with someone. It's more healing than crying alone. We cry a lot.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Crying is normalized.
Yesterday morning, I cried for a good hour.
Yes.
Well, you held me, and you didn't cry with me, but you were there with me, and I needed that.
Yeah. I think crying, I think we need to normalize crying more, because crying is a natural way for us to release pent up energy and pent up emotion in our bodies. And yet we grow up in a society that's like, don't cry, or anytime someone starts crying, they say, it's okay. And there's so much power in silence while someone else is crying, and just allowing them to do that. I think there's value in crying by yourself sometimes, but there are really healing things about crying with someone else.
I think we need both. This seems to put a judgment that one is better than the other. We do need to heal with other people, and that can accelerate it. We also need to do some solo work and some solo healing and crying. So they're both valuable. But if we shut ourselves off to crying, especially in front of other people, or other people inadvertently try to shut us down, like, oh, don't cry, it's okay, it's okay, it can make that more difficult. Whereas if we allow for that and embrace it and leave room for it, it's much more healing.
All right. 8, it's okay to get angry with God. He can take it. So neither of us are religious. I grew up very religious, but not anymore. But I do believe in spirituality and universal energy and things of that sort. And for me, this one is just saying, like, one, it's okay to be angry. Like the first part of this sentence, like it's okay to be angry. But you can be angry with a force bigger than yourself, and they can hold that. And it doesn't have to just be you. So for me, it like takes something out of isolation and allows there to be a space bigger than just me for my emotion. And I think there's something restorative about that.
Yeah. I agree with like, it's okay to be angry. There's something about this that I don't like, and that won't surprise you, but like this idea of this higher authority, whatever that may be, and that it is so strong and powerful. He can take it, like dump it on him. Like there's pieces of this that I don't.
Yeah, but you're thinking of it as a higher authority, because like the word God naturally assumes that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think of God as a higher authority.
Okay.
I think of like ultimately, and Buddhist principles talk about this, like we are the divine, we are God. And it's recognizing that our energy comes from that source. And so for me, it's not putting someone above me, like parental, like hold this for me. It's just like, it can go out there and there's more space for it than just.
And I agree with that. The way this is written, to me, communicates the former, which I don't resonate with.
I'm with you. I just want to adapt them all to it.
Great.
Okay. Save for retirement, starting with your first paycheck. I'm just going to go with yes on this.
I mean, I have kids that are getting their first paycheck. So this is a huge one for me. And one of the things if I made this up or someone told me, I don't know, but like, you don't miss it if you don't have it. So you get that first paycheck and you're like, oh, I'll start retiring 6 months later. I'll start putting it away. You're used to that X amount in your paycheck. And then it comes out and you're like, you're missing it, versus it comes out in the first paycheck. You never miss it and it's fine. And the compounding effects of that is worth millions. So yes.
And I was fortunate. My grandpa taught me things around investing from a young age. And so, this has been ingrained in me since I was probably 10, which is great. And I'm fortunate for having that. Number 10, I love, when it comes to chocolate, resistance is futile.
Who can argue with that?
You can't argue with that, except for, I would say, dark chocolate, because milk chocolate is disgusting.
Well, yeah. Resisting dark chocolate is impossible. Resisting milk chocolate is easy.
Resisting milk chocolate is very, very easy for me, but resisting dark chocolate, or as anyone who has followed anything I do for more than 30 days, resisting peanut butter cups or hazelnut butter cups of any sort is futile. Okay. Make peace with your past so it won't screw up the present. Like, this is in essence why I have a job. So I agree with this.
Yes.
When we clear up our past, it doesn't cloud our conversations. It doesn't cloud our relationships, our emotions, in the same way we have more power instead of it having power over us.
Yeah. My hour-long cry was due to past emotions, and everything that triggers us today is based on that. So, and it's an ongoing, you never accomplish this. You never reach that goal. It's an ongoing thing.
Yeah. It's part of the fun.
We work on it daily, and it's critical to clearing up
and allowing us to be present with each other in the present moment. There's a theme in here. It's okay to let your children see you cry. My mom listens to the show, so hopefully she doesn't get angry about this. Hi, Mom. But I think I only saw my mom cry before the age of like 17. I think I only saw my mom cry like 2 times. And she's a very emotional person, but she doesn't always show it outwardly. Like, I definitely saw my dad cry more than my mom. But it's okay to let your children see you cry. And I called my mom the other day and I told her, I was like, Mom, just so you know, like, if you ever have emotions or feelings like that you need to share, like you can call me. And I think it's a gift when we allow others to have that expression. Yeah.
And it's interesting, like, I'm not picking on your mom, but how many people would say their dad cried more than their mom? And usually it's the reverse, like, especially for men, like, we're conditioned, don't cry, be strong. So we're told that, and like, we're taught not to cry, and it can be really damaging. And we can cut off part of ourselves from our own selves. Like we're not even whole when we're taking that piece of us that cries and say like, we don't want to ever see you. So it is a gift to let your kids see you cry and to share that that's okay. And I hope I'm doing that with my kids.
Don't compare your life to others. You have no idea what their journey is all about. Okay, I have a great story for this one. My mom told me this story growing up routinely around like, I'm going to butcher this, but it's basically when you're driving and like someone's going really slow in front of you or something. And the tendency is to like want to get super angry with them. Like your impatience when driving. But
you have the same thing. Are you kidding me?
But my mom always told me, she's like, you never know what's going on for them. And she always told this story of there being a woman driving in front of her, and someone told her this story, and it was like the woman had a goldfish bowl in the front seat, and so she couldn't drive fast because she was trying to get this goldfish bowl home without the water and the fish like falling out everywhere. And to me, this has always been an example of like, you never know what's going on behind someone's closed door. You never know what's going on for someone in their path.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I feel like this is talking about comparing ourselves, which in my mind is like, oh, if I only had as much as them, if I was only why are they so successful? Why am I beating, I'll beat myself up because I'm not where they are. But the same thing applies. We just don't know what their path was, what opportunities they were handed, when, why. And I guess it could work in the opposite way of feeling superior to someone and comparing ourselves like, oh God, I'm not that. But we don't know their path, and it was different than ours. And we're handed a lot of luck or circumstances that are outside of our control. So we really shouldn't compare ourselves so much and feel superior or less than someone else because their path was entirely different.
Yes. And I would say that along those lines of comparison, some spiritual writings talk about this because there are many different paths to, enlightenment, or there are many different paths to healing. And some people will say, if you hear someone's story around their path and the way that they did it, it can be really easy to compare and say, well, like, okay, if I just do this, then the same thing will happen to me. And that's very rarely true because we all have our own way that our challenges, our struggles, our desires have to play out. Okay. What are we on? Oh goodness. Number 14. If a relationship has to be a secret, you shouldn't be in it. I agree with this.
Yeah.
I have nothing to add.
Well, I would just expand it more. And this is a challenge. And I think I recognize the privilege of where I am, where I can kind of put myself out there, not just a relationship, but anything you do, think or say, any part of your lifestyle. Like if it has to be a secret, like we should just be okay with anything we do, think, or feel. And if you have to hide that from people, there's something that isn't optimal. Now, I know that that's an ideal that isn't easy for everyone to achieve. It's not even easy for me to achieve, and I don't fully live that way. But like, if it has to be a secret, then what's going on? Like,
right. But I would add that that's not always a personal thing. Like, yes, I agree with you. Like from a self-expression standpoint, especially like, yes, like if it has to be a secret, the question is what's going on. Like this is saying like, I think this is just talking about like romantic relationships. Yeah. And if it has to be a secret, you shouldn't be in it. And I get what you're saying, but also then that means that there could be something systemically wrong that is making it so people can't be who they are. So
it points us to like, why can't I be me and have that be out there? And if this also reminds me of like the old saying, if you can't handle your mom reading it in the newspaper, then don't do it.
Yeah.
And this is true. Like, but that is not easy. And it's something to strive for, to get to the point where we can accept people judging us, hearing something that they don't want to hear about us, potentially losing friends. Like that's a tough one, but it's something that I try to keep in mind and strive for. Like if I'm willing to do it, then I'm willing to have people know that I did it.
But for certain things, there are more extreme consequences,
Yes.
and there would be reasons.
And I mentioned privilege, like I don't have a job where I can get fired because of some lifestyle choice I make or something. So it's not always that easy.
Right. It just leads to questions around like, okay, why is this the case? And am I okay making this choice? And how does that making that choice make me feel about me? I think are the important things that can come from that. Okay. Everything can change in the blink of an eye, but don't worry, God never blinks. Okay. So there's religious undertones in this one, but I generally agree that everything can change in the blink of an eye. I've been shown that various times throughout my life, and those have always been pivotal moments and powerful moments. And it just reminds us to not cling so much to this picture or this identity, because everything's malleable. It changes.
Well, and your situation changes and what happens around you changes, but there's probably like, there's something that doesn't change. Maybe your core, like who you are, what you believe in, that doesn't need to change, but the stuff around us can all change in a blink of an eye.
Yes. All right. Take a breath. It calms the mind. As I take a breath, it's a good reminder. Taking a breath is important.
Yeah. And we talk about this as it relates to conflict with us. We talked about it yesterday. I'm a real strong believer in this, and it helps me like to get away, to take a breath, step back, reflect. We can get so caught up in emotions and in the moment and get clouded and get triggered, and with any situation, and taking a deep breath and kind of relaxing the nervous system and reflecting and coming back, for me, almost always provides a great benefit for my clarity of thought.
Yeah, I think so many times like we get caught up in shallow breathing, like when we're driving, like you can get caught in shallow breathing doing literally anything. So it can be good to remember that we need oxygen flowing through our body, and that these deep breaths really offer a lot of benefits to our nervous system and how we move. I mean, when I catch myself in shallow breathing and then I take a deep breath, like sometimes I just feel my spine like pop back into place, which is obviously an indicator that I breathe too shallowly too often, but that's okay. 17, get rid of anything that isn't useful, beautiful, or joyful.
For me, this is minimalism, which we tend to live. And before I met you, I had started on a path of reducing clutter. And I know this is more than just our living space, but for me, that's what this sparks for me. The thought of like getting rid of stuff and literally looking around the apartment on an ongoing basis and going like, what is the purpose of that thing there that's taking up space? And if I don't have it, like get rid of it. So reducing clutter in our lives, and that can be physical. It can also be emotional.
Yep.
But
I agree.
Big fan of that.
18, whatever doesn't kill you really does make you stronger. Yeah. I think everything is designed to make us stronger. It's all about perception and how we look at it.
I used to say this. I think there's some nuance to that. Like there is on a lot of these. In general, yes. Like the trials and tribulations, adversity makes us stronger. And the things that used to look like an unscalable mountain when we were younger, and then we scale it the first time and we do it a couple more times, and now it's easy, right? Like so, and now we can get to higher levels. There is some piece of this at an extreme. There are things that are toxic to us, especially like physically, that can weaken us forever. There are toxins we can ingest or be exposed to, like physically. It doesn't kill us, but it could literally cripple us or make us immunocompromised or so.
Like
so
sugar. To an extreme,
yeah, or an extent, or like smoking cigarettes for 20 years may not kill you, but it's not making you stronger.
Right. Okay.
So there's some nuance to that, but I think what she's trying to point out is more the first part of it. Like adversity, something difficult, can make us stronger.
Yes. Okay. It's never too late to have a happy childhood, but the second one is up to you and no one else.
So many good things in that.
Yeah.
I love that one.
Yeah, this one is great. I mean, what we went through as a kid is definitely, we didn't have control over that in many ways. We're dependent on our parents or the people who are supporting us and raising us. And we're just trying to learn and grow and adapt to what's going on. But we do get to choose how we perceive that once we're older, and how we live our life and how we reflect back on it, and what we choose to heal from the wounds that come from the past. And we get to choose, like, the areas of our life where we do grow up. And I'm a firm believer that there are certain areas where, like, when we can tap into wonder and delight of kids, like, we're not supposed to grow up in those areas.
Yeah. Like, that's one of the key messages here. Like, don't give up on being a kid. And my mom is an inspiration for me on this. She's 84, but she acts like she's 13. And I just find joy and wonder in that. And we talk about it. We try to find ways to be kids and do some skipping or dancing or silly things. Like, we grow up too early and we're told, like, adults don't act that way or this way, but we lose some of the wonder and the joy of being a kid. And we can come back to that later in life. We can come back to that as adults.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's up to us. Like, that's the other thing I love in this message. Like, it's not other people's responsibilities to make us feel happy and joyful. Like, we get to drive that completely internally.
Right. Like, as a kid, we have to put things outside of ourselves because we don't have the skills yet. But as an adult, we don't have to put everything outside of ourselves. We can reclaim it back in, and self-agency is a magical force. Mm-hmm. All right. When it comes to going after what you love in life, don't take no for an answer.
Follow your passion, do what you love. Absolutely. And in life, there are a lot of naysayers. There's a lot of people lining up to say no and why that won't work. A lot of that is rooted in people's fears, their own fears, like, oh no, don't take that risk. Or their
own jealousy, because they're too scared to follow what they love. And so
stay on my level.
Someone else.
Yeah. So if you can find the people that build you up, that don't tell you to take reckless risks, but, like, support your risk taking, support your passion, support you, and say yes more than they say no. And don't project their fears on you. Like, find those people, surround yourself with those people, and keep them close by for counsel.
Yeah. But I also have some things around follow your passion and do what you love. Like, you don't have to find your passion. Like, part of that is living it in the moment, like living what you love in the moment. It doesn't have to be this grand thing where the whole picture of your life, you have to know exactly what you love and follow this one thing for forever. And that's what you do and stake your whole identity on. Like, back to the thing where things change. I don't know which number that was, but what you love can change too. And that's okay. And being willing to let go of some things that you no longer love because you have newfound loves, I think is great.
But do what you love. And if you find yourself not doing that and you see something else that excites you, like, go for it.
Yes.
Pivot.
All right. Burn the candles, use the nice sheets, and wear the fancy lingerie. Don't save it for a special occasion. Today is special. I'm a fan of this one because why have it if you're not going to use it? So life is worth celebrating, on any given day, not just on the prescribed days. So I'm a fan.
There's balance in here. There's taking this to an extreme, but I'm also the same way. Like, I spend a lot of my money. I don't just squirrel it all away. And we like to dress nice on a Tuesday night, and, like, today's special, live in the moment, and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yes, I agree. Okay. Interlude really quick. We either have to go faster or we have to do 2 parts.
It's your podcast. Let's do 2 parts.
We can go for
rewind. This is part 1.
We can go. We'll just get through what we get through, but we might have to do 2 parts.
I'm game for that.
All right. 22, over prepare and then go with the flow. This is not how I operate. I just go with the flow. I am very prepared in the sense that like I'm constantly thinking about something that I have to do. Like when I was working with your team the other day, like in the shower, I was mentally rehearsing what I needed to go across, but that was the extent of the preparation for that. But I trust the preparation that I've done over years to get there. So I'm generally more of a go with flow person on some dimensions. So I don't know about this, but
yeah, this is a tough one. I think generally I agree with that. Like when I've had things that I feel like I need to prepare for, if I'm really over prepared and then I can go in and not have something rehearsed and like, I just know, I feel it, I know it because I'm so prepared. Like, I think that is generally works for me as well. I can sometimes over prepare. Yeah. I can like sometimes spend too much time preparing for something. So
yeah, I don't know that this is one of the, I don't know that this would make the list for me. Be eccentric now, don't wait for old age to wear purple. I love this one. It supports self-expression and I think it's great. And so many of us, like as kids, it's like crazy hair day at school and you don't give a shit. And then as you get older, we get this, like, you can't play me like a fiddle.
Sorry. She's got this wonderful like cut out in her gene and it's so fun for me to just like play.
No.
So I am playing with it and it feels to her like it's a fiddle. And okay. Hands to yourself, young man.
Yeah. So be eccentric now. Don't wait for old age to wear purple.
Well, this is back to my mom and like the shit she wears and just being a kid, back to being a kid. And
yeah,
because kids don't care until they're socialized to care. And everyone like makes fun of someone and it's like, oh, then I can't be me. I love people. I look up to people that are just like, wow, you are being you. And that's crazy. And good for you. Like, and I wish we all did more of that. We all conform too much.
I agree. And yes, I agree. Now for me, it's not like necessarily wearing something crazy. For me, eccentricity probably comes in like other ways I communicate stuff, but
no, this can be ideas. This can be thoughts, ideas, values, things you do, obviously things you wear, but it's all of that. But it's just this idea of like, we're all individuals, and this is just like tying in multiple ones, but like agree to disagree, let people, you want to wear that or you want to have that thought, like that seems crazy to me, but like good for you. And I don't need you to be like me. Right. And there's not one right way.
Yes. 24. I wish I could ask her like what she meant by this one, because I'm really curious. I know what it means to me and probably to you too, but I'm super curious. So 24, the most important sex organ is the brain. I'm a sapiosexual, like, yeah.
So am I. So that's what comes to mind, I think. And any sapiosexual is going to be like, yes, that.
Yeah.
And that is like, I remember being a kid or even an adult and like trying to figure out like, why does sex feel so good? Like, what is the magical thing? Because you can masturbate and it feels good and there's something there, but then it's like, but why does actual sex like go, is it 100 times as good? Like, what is that? And it can't just be physical, right? Because it's like, well, I can kind of mirror that or something, but it's not as good. And it's the brain and it's right.
There's a huge role in that, whether it's like, even from an intimacy perspective, but even, I agree.
Yeah. So I think there's different meanings. Like the brain can make the physical part feel good, but then sapiosexual is just like being turned on by intellect and by someone interesting, someone that stimulates your brain.
Yeah.
So,
No one is in charge of your happiness but you. I'm a firm believer in this one. We're responsible for our We're responsible for our own happiness and for getting our needs met. And sometimes we recruit people into our vision and our world to help us meet those needs or to, add to the experience. But at the end of the day, we're responsible for ourselves. We're responsible for our happiness. And I think many people have to learn this lesson different ways and numerous times over. But at the end of the day, like, I totally believe no one is in charge of my happiness but me.
Yeah. But like tying back to some of the other things we talked about like healing past wounds, like I believe this, as you know, and I would never at this point in my life, given my past relationships, let someone put on me like a feeling of like I'm in charge of their happiness. Mm-hmm. And I strongly believe I'm in charge of my own happiness. It's not your responsibility. But as you know, a part of me that's like even repressed a little, like puts on me your happiness. Like I put it on myself.
Yeah. Well, people pleasing comes in, and there are many different ways to describe that.
So I need to work on like giving, and you help me with this. You remind me like, it's not my responsibility. Mm-hmm. And if I make you upset, it's not the end of the world. It's okay.
Yeah. It's almost like it needs an addendum. Like no one is in charge of your happiness, but you. And everyone else is in charge of their own happiness too, because it can be easy to take it on like, oh yeah, I know I'm in charge of my happiness. But then like, if we feel the threat of anything, like, okay, well now I have to make you super happy too. And I'm responsible for that. But no, like everyone else is in charge of their own happiness as well.
Yeah. I feel like this could be a podcast in itself. Maybe it's a future idea, but like, because I think while most people are nodding their heads on this, I think there's some people that at least internally are kind of like, I don't fully buy into that. Like,
well, because society puts out all of these messages that you complete me. Oh my God, that makes me want to barf. Like that is a disgusting phrase, and it should never be on anything. Yes. And I don't use the word never lightly.
Or like, where's your better half?
And that is a disgusting phrase.
Yes, but there are a lot of people that have grown up thinking that's the way it is, or they truly believe it.
It's hard not to think that, because every single message and most rom-coms, even in most TV shows now, that's the underlying message, and it's gross.
Yeah. And again, I think that's a whole nother topic to explore. How does that happen? Why? And how do you get out of that?
Yes.
And why is that dangerous? Because there's a part of that just sounds so great, like
and appealing.
Yes, and like of course, this is part of a relationship. We are responsible. We have a job to keep our partner happy. Like, so
there's so much nuance in here. We're gonna have to do an episode on it because there's a lot of nuance in there. Okay. Frame every so-called disaster with these words. In 5 years, will this matter? I like this one. It's a good perspective shift. Like sometimes, we talk about healing a lot. We talk about, reframing things from the past. And sometimes the quickest thing you can do is something simple. And it's just like a quick reframe. And I think this question is a good one to help with that.
I struggle with this one a little more. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure I would argue against it, but 5 years is a long time, first of all. And like, if I'm in the middle of my shit or I'm in pain, like, I don't care, like in 5 years, if this is going to matter right now, because I think you can even take like a long relationship and say that you really value and love. And you say like, if we broke up, if you left me, in 5 years, is it going to matter? It probably won't. Like, I'm going to be over it by then. I'm going to be on, maybe meet someone new. That doesn't make it trivial, and it doesn't make it trivial right now. So I think the underlying theme here of like, put things in perspective. Is it as big as it feels like it is? And is it really going to matter in the scheme of things? Good, healthy question. The specific 5 year thing.
Well, maybe I would switch this one to more so around what's in our control, because it could be like, what is actually in my control, and then let the other things fade away.
Yeah.
That would be more.
I like that.
That would be more impactful for me to have that one on the list.
Yeah.
Okay. This one, 27, always choose life. I love this. I love this one.
What does that even mean?
To me, that in every second we are but simultaneously living and dying.
Mm.
Because the second we're born, we're on a pathway and eventually we're going to die. And so in every single moment, we're living and dying at the same time. And we can choose the dying side, or we can choose life and to focus on the evolution, regardless of what the end outcome is. So for me, always choosing life is choosing the journey, not getting lost in the past. It's choosing the present moment. It's choosing growth. Like those words can be synonymous to me at times. So
yeah, this one fries my brain a lot. Like, I don't fully understand what you're saying makes sense. And yes, but I don't know, like, who's choosing death?
Well, I mean, sometimes it's easy when we get trapped in old patterns, or when we're feeling like down and depressed. Like,
It just is like, think positive. Like, yeah.
No, it's not just thinking positively. I'm so anti toxic positivity. Like, we are not meant to think positive in every single freaking moment. So it's not that, but it's about choosing that life has seasons. Life has ups and downs. Like, if you look at how a plant grows, a tree in the middle of winter is going to have bare leaves, but then it's going to rebloom and in the spring. And it's recognizing that life has those patterns. So definitely not toxic positivity.
But isn't that not always choosing life? Because like the tree, like that every year the leaves need to die.
It doesn't die. No, the tree itself doesn't die. No. The leaves fall.
They die.
Then they're not
the
connected
leaves die
because they're not connected to the source anymore.
But the source is alive.
Yeah. The source is alive. The leaf itself falls away.
Well, that's okay. And it's growth. Like, it's like, you got to shed that to grow new in the future. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yes. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. I think we're going to have to do part 2 because we still have a bunch to get through, and I don't want this to be an hour and a half episode. So we're going to do part 2, but because you mentioned this next one, we're going to end on this one.
Mm-hmm.
So 28, forgive everyone, everything.
I love this one. Like, this one speaks to me, and the way it's written, because we all know we're supposed to forgive and forget, but like, but this is so absolute. This one, to me, it's so bold that for me, it makes me go like realize how profound it is. It's not forgive some people. It's not try to forgive. It's forgive everyone, everything. So anything that you view as negative that someone did to you, that hurt you, finding a way to forgive everyone, everything. And for me, this is just what's going on in my life and my healing. This resonates with me. And it feels like the path for me to get to the next level of healing for me, and then peel away the next level or the next layer of the onion. So I love this. And I think it is so hard, but I believe there's so much wisdom in it, because as we hold on to grievances and we don't forgive people, that's only harming ourselves. And it really is.
But I agree with this one wholeheartedly as well. I think the way it's phrased is even beautiful, similar for why it resonates with you. Like, it is absolute, but it's absolute in a way that gives you your power back. Because when we're not forgiving, it's putting it outside of ourselves. And so if you forgive everyone, everything, like, you can return to your center in a different way.
Well, and the power thing, you're absolutely right. Like, when we're holding on to anger or we don't forgive someone, we're giving them control over our lives and our emotion and our state now. And when we forgive, we take that power back completely.
The thing that I think is important to add here, because so many messages of forgiveness, especially in circles where it's highlighted as like a core tenet, I think there's this pressure, like, you have to forgive someone immediately, or it's like forgiveness can almost become this like part of going through the motions. And I don't believe true forgiveness happens like that. And there is, like, being able to forgive someone quicker happens when you work on your own emotions and like your own fears and how you hold on to things. So for me, there's always the goal of like being able to forgive someone quicker, but also recognizing that like I can't half-ass forgiveness. Like, to truly forgive, you gotta be able to truly forgive. And that might not happen overnight. That might not happen for a year. It might not happen for 10 years. But as long as you're working towards forgiving everyone, everything, I think we expand rather than constricting our life.
Yeah. And it's all relative to the amount of pain that you have associated with that grievance that you're holding on to. And, you know, someone stepping on your foot, you can release that and forgive them instantly. A partner for 20 years that caused you a lot of pain, it can take a while longer. And I believe it should. Like, maybe there's this.
Oh, no, you take that back right now.
Oh yeah, we don't say should, right?
I know. Well, there is no prescription. No, I'm going to fight you on this.
No, would you let me finish?
No.
Okay. Let me finish. What I was going to say is, like, I said maybe we should. I'll take that back. But like, maybe there is a higher level of enlightenment that I'm not at yet, where we can really release something deep-seated much more quickly. I'm not there yet, so I'm practicing what you're doing. I'm doing it a little bit each day, trying to, and it's taking me some time for some of the deeper wounds, and that's okay. But yes, there's probably a way.
I just am anti the shit on that, because there is not one right way or one pathway for someone to go through that at all. And something that was longer, if you all of a sudden have a breakthrough and you've released, you know, the core of that in some way, it doesn't have to take long. So it does not have to go for any duration of time. Yes.
And that being said, on average, if deeper wounds take longer, that's not surprising, and we don't need it to be an instant release. And I think what you were pointing out is that we can kind of kid ourselves of like, oh, I just forgive. Like, okay, I'm deciding today to forgive. It has to be a real forgiveness, a genuine release, and a genuine forgiveness. And that isn't always something we can just kick out.
Yeah. I think the point is, like, it can take as long as it needs to take, and that's okay, whether it's quick or whether it's longer.
And it doesn't have to be longer.
Yes. Okay. What is 45 minus 28?
17.
Okay, we have 17 more of these, which we will do in part 2. I'm super excited. The disappointing thing for me right now is these are all the ones that we had been through before.
Is that where we stopped?
Yes. Like, we had gotten to you and I.
I'm glad we're going to get surprised by the other ones. Like, yeah. Although it was interesting, like, new ideas came up and new thoughts came up when we did it the second time, but it'll be interesting. The other ones we haven't seen.
Yes, we haven't seen that at all. So join us next week for part 2 of the wisdom from 90-year-old Regina Brett and 45 lessons that life taught her, and Geoff and I's commentary on what they mean to us and what we're taking away from it and what we're not. As always, thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you next week. You've just finished listening to another episode of Make It Mentionable with me, your host, Alyssa Patmos. If you're looking for more in between episodes, then sign up for The Peel. It's my free newsletter that gives tips for how to navigate whatever life dishes. And it's also the place where I share the juiciest of stories. To check it out, head on over to alyssapatmos.com/The Peel. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.